The most important detail of any renovation that I've worked on is the kitchen. And as an interior designer, there are so many trends and details out there that I've seen personally that can make it really challenging for a client to choose what works best for their home. Today, I'm gonna go through the best, and I'm saying the best features that work for any interior design style for your kitchen that you need to include in your renovation. In any kitchen design, there is never enough room. No matter how big your kitchen is, the amount of storage you actually require for it is like 10 times the actual amount. And one of my favorite and absolute favorite ways in any kitchen design is utilizing as much possible storage you can and putting them also in the most unlikely places so you can have some really cool features to show off to your guests. First on the list are toe kick drawers. Now hear me out because they sound super unconventional and they kind of look really weird, but look at exactly how they are planned and laid out. You can have all of that dead space in your toe kick area as additional drawer space. I'm talking about your pots and pans. Sorry, my correction, not pots and pans, just your flat pans. You're gonna be able to put your muffin containers in there. Those small level, low detail things that are no more than 3 inches that are gonna fit within that 4-inch toe kick. This is a fantastic way to utilize that space that is otherwise never used for anything at all. You can have a push-pull hardware on there so you can give it a little kick and it'll flow out. And what's nice about these wheel details is that they aren't super expensive like normal drawers will be. The way that these operate is that the drawer itself sits on the wheels on the floor finish. So regardless if you're having an LVL or a hardwood, it's going to smoothly transition all the way back into that space. And if you really need to, you can pull it all the way out to clean behind and underneath. Next on the list are appliance garages. And I know that these aren't anything new and they've been super trendy over the last little while because we have transitioned from that 70s and 80s kitchen where you need to see every single appliance. It needs to be the key feature. It needs to be a beautiful, bold color to now we don't want to see anything. I want to see cabinets, I want to see a countertop, and I want to see a sink and stove. That's literally what we've transitioned to today, to have everything hidden, and in my opinion is way smoother because a kitchen is the heart of the home. It is so busy all the time. You have pots, you have pans, you have dishes, you have cups, you have everything sprawled out. So anything you can do to actually minimize the look of the kitchen itself is going to make sure that that is now the star of the show. And appliance garages are the perfect way to utilize all that space to hide in your cot. Thinking a pot and kettle and cot came out. Appliance garages are the perfect way to hide everything for everyday use. I'm talking about your microwave, your kettles, your toaster, something that can have everything put away, hidden out of sight and out of mind. Now I understand I'm gonna get comments being like, oh, if I don't see it, I'm not gonna use it. Trust me, you're going to know it's there, you're going to be using it. It's not like you're putting it in a faraway shelf that is dead and you're never going to see it again. The great way to utilize these spaces is to have a built-in outlet within the cabinet. Now, as soon as I said that, I know people are running to the comments right now. You can't have an outlet in a cabinet. But guess what? You can. There are certain triggers for these cabinets to actually have an outlet that is used and is to code. There is a company called Docking Drawer. I know there's other ones. This is one of my favorite ones to use, and no, it is not sponsored. I just think they're great in their design. When these docking drawers are operated within the cabinet themselves, they operate on a shelf. The shelf pulls out from this appliance garage. Once it is out and those doors are open, it then triggers the switch for these outlets to be operational. Once you close it, the switches are dead and they are on a kill switch. This is how you get around the code of not having outlets in there because outlets generate heat, they generate friction. The last thing you want is electrical fire anywhere in your home, never mind within a cabinet around flammable items. These are the perfect design to include in those spaces to make sure that 1, it's to code, 2, you're not gonna have any issues, and 3, you're safe and you have peace of mind with having these appliance garages actually operational. If we're being honest, I know how lazy you are and I know how lazy I am. If you do not have a plug that is operational within those cabinets and you have to pull those appliances out and put them on your countertop, they're going to stay on your countertop and you're not gonna put them back in. This is the perfect solution to all those problems. If you have an appliance garage, you've made it. While we're on the topic of docking drawer, yes, I know it is a terrible name if you're thinking it from a sexual standpoint, but the great thing about these is that they can be retrofitted into any drawer or cabinet space. Here's a few images of them that are going to show you where you can use them in application. I've seen them in your vanity, so you can actually have your blow dryer and your hot tools organized and plugged in underneath. You don't have to have the cords all the way out and tangled. This is another great way to have that kill switch to make sure that you're not worried about if you turned your straightener or your hair dryer off, because they've already been killed the switch. You don't have to worry about it. It's super easy. The other spaces to put them in are in your island. If you have an existing power line to the island itself, you can have these in the top drawer sections. You also have a plug-in option that is out of sight and out of mind. You don't have to worry about seeing those ugly ass outlets either as a pop-up or on the side of the islands that really ruin the design and focus your eye direction towards what you see them. These can be applied in so many different spaces, and once again, highly recommend. I know there's a bunch out there, but I put them in almost every client renovation or new build that I do, whether it be in the vanity, the island, or around the perimeter of the kitchen that you need those extra plugins. While we're on the topic of outlets in general, I have said this before, they are one of the most ugliest designs. They never look great. I mean, you can switch out the cover plates to make them a little bit more design oriented towards your style, but in my opinion, whether it's black or white, they are an eyesore. They draw your eyes directly to it, especially if you have them as a countertop in your backsplash. That's the first thing you see. I think I've mentioned this before, but bochi is one of my favorite design elements to include, especially on the backsplash of your kitchen, because they are so seamless. They work really well with any design. You can get them actually colored, and they are flush. That is the greatest design about these things. And yes, they are CGI rated. So if you do need to trip them, turn them on and off, there is a specific tool that makes them come out, because I know I have talked about this before on other socials and people are like, oh my God, you're gonna have to take out the whole backsplash to actually replace them. No, it is much easier than you think. I always think from a functional and a standard practical point before I recommend anything. Another great area to hide outlets is underneath the uppers around the perimeter of your kitchen. I know there's a lot of people that comment being like, I don't want to have my plugs hanging from them. Then don't just have it plugged in all the time. Like, it's as simple as that, but at least you're hiding things away. You're not seeing those outlets, and then they're not interrupting the actual style of the backsplash in your kitchen. Depending on if you can actually add power to your island, having them underneath the seating area of your island themselves is another really great, unconspicuous way to hide an outlet and still have access for any appliances for your prep in your kitchen. I know there's going to be another comment saying like, oh, well, I don't want to have to go all the way around the island to plug it in. Well, where else are you going to put it? It's not that hard. The extra 4 steps around your island to plug it in underneath the seating area is not going to take away from your cooking time. Trust me on that one. Because I've talked about this before and people are like, oh, well, what about this? There's always someone complaining. This doesn't necessarily apply to a renovation because it requires a little bit more work, but if you are doing a new build, what's really on trend right now that I foresee is being timeless in terms of the design and utilizing that dead space is within the backsplash. If you saw my most recent renovation, we did a shower niche style within the kitchen backsplash to give not only additional storage, but it gives you that extra level of dimension of detail of that feature, which would otherwise be unutilized as just one slab. You still get to appreciate not only the beauty of the slab itself that we used, but you get all that additional storage and to have the cabinets actually lined up so it looks perfectly aligned, and in my opinion looks way better because you've utilized that storage and you get to see the beautiful stone. The one challenge with this design itself is that if you are doing the renovation or in the new build itself, you do require a much thicker wall between, because one, you need to account for the weight load of whatever stone you are using, if you're using a shelf or not, and two, you need to make sure it doesn't actually back up to whatever back wall and the room that it's being shared with. You've probably seen the few photos of this kitchen before that have been going viral because that backsplash is actually sliding doors where they've actually utilized all of that space as a spice rack, which in my opinion, I think is so fucking fantastic because everything is at hand, it's super easy to grab, and once again, it's hidden. Everything is put away and you would never even know it's there. This requires an even higher fee in terms of the fabrication for it because the amount of hardware that needs to be put into it to install something like this, but these are great examples of little areas where you can gain all that additional storage without having to even think about it. So next on the list is one of my favorite plumbing specs to put in any home, because like I said before, you really don't have that much room in the kitchen no matter how big it is, unless you have, you know, like those multi-million-dollar homes with 2 islands that I would never recommend to begin with. Galley sinks are fucking amazing. Pardon my French, I think they are so good. They've only recently come to light because of how great they are in actually having all this additional prep space, but also cleaning. The way the galley sinks are designed is they have lips on each side that you can set in your colander, your strainer, your cutting board that sits flush with the countertop itself. So the sink doubles as a prep area. You don't need to be cutting beside the sink and then putting it in. Everything is done within a specific area. The one downside to galley sinks is that they do require a much larger cabinet cavity. So keep that in mind if you are doing a new build or a renovation. The cabinet that you're going to need is going to be at least a 36 inch, because they usually typically come as a 33 inch. So they need to fit within that cavity of the cabinet underneath, which a lot of people don't take into consideration when they're doing their kitchen design. This is another reason why you bring in an interior designer to figure out all of these problems for you so you don't have to. You would be surprised how many clients have come to me after the fact when the renovation is already done and they're like, I'm sorry, we messed up. We need you. How can we fix this? Let me tell you now, it is more expensive to fix it than it is to hire an interior designer from the beginning. Last on the list is nothing new, but it is also one of my favorite details to add in any kitchen. If you have a corner, an L shape, or just an awkwardly shaped kitchen, you probably have a corner with dead space. These Lazy Susan pull-out edition styles are so fantastic for having everything that you can put all the way back in those dead spaces and still have access to them. Because if we're being honest, I remember growing up and we had one of those corners in the kitchen. I had to get down on my hands and knees, dig all the way to the back just to find a pot or pan that I was looking for. These have tiered systems, so regardless if they pull out from the corner or they pull it from the side and then as an L shape, these are so great. I highly recommend them for any kitchen renovation, and I always spec them if I have a dead space in that corner. Not only do they operate from a lower cabinet standpoint, but you can get one of those full cabinets, floor to ceiling, that will still have all of that storage that you can pull out and access what's in the back. Like I said before, it is so much easier and cheaper to hire an interior designer from the beginning than it is to have them come in after the fact and try and fix the mistakes from either the contractor, the mill worker, or the builder. Because trust me, I have seen some absolute disasters that I've come in to fix, and I try my best to make sure that everything works and operates from not only an aesthetic standpoint, but a functional standpoint. And at the end of the day, that's what interior designers do. We are here to make your life easier, to make your space look great, and for you to fall in love with it. If you have any questions about any renovations, whether you're thinking about doing one or you're in the midst of one, let me know in the comments below, because I'm always here to help. I want to make sure that your space looks not only its best, but functions its best. And that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to my channel, and you can also follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Mr. Phoenix Gray. And if you're ever second guessing yourself, just ask, what would Design Daddy do? Hire an interior designer if you are ever considering a renovation. We are going to fix every problem that you didn't think you had. Boom.